everyone, welcome back for the third and final installment of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness series. Today I'm going to really discuss some of the ways that PSLF could change before you're eligible. As a reminder, no one has actually had any loan amount forgiven under PSLF, so they've never paid out a dime. The first people who will be eligible for PSLF are actually going to be eligible upcoming in October of 2017. So let me start by saying that the reason I'm talking about how PSLF could be changed is because it's simply a legislative act, and so it could be changed or eliminated through a congressional vote. So with that, we'll kind of get into the three ways that I think you could see PSLF change. So the first is that public service loan forgiveness amounts could be taxed as income. Right now, they're the only income-based repayment kind of forgiveness option that doesn't tax the forgiven loan amount as income. And it's a huge advantage right now because you can expect to pay about 25% of the forgiven amount in taxes. So that means if you had $40,000 forgiven, you would have a $10,000 tax bill at the end of the year, which is kind of a big deal. So I could foresee after having to pay some of this out that the government might want to try and recoup a little of those costs and could decide to tax this as income in line with the other income-based forgiveness options. And then the second thing that I could see changing is that they could either cap the total loan amount forgiven, or potentially they could cap the income eligibility. So they could say, if you make over $115,000 a year, you're not eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Or potentially they could say, and I think this one's maybe the more likely scenario, they could say, you can only have X amount forgiven. Like, for example, in 2015, President Obama proposed a $57,000 cap in his budget for the PSLF loan amount. That didn't pass, but it was in there. And then kind of the third way that PSLF could change is sort of the worst way, and that's that it could be eliminated entirely. So President-elect Donald Trump is proposing for student loans, he proposes a 12.5% income-based repayment plan where you would essentially pay 12.5% for 15 years, and then the remaining amount will be forgiven. And his plan is to eliminate all other income-based plans and forgiveness options, which would include PSLF. So if that happened, it's really tough to say what would actually happen to people who have already diligently been making payments under an income-based plan for years. I don't know if they'd be grandfathered in or exactly what would happen, so that'd be a little bit tricky. And something to note is that the Republican-led House of Representatives has made multiple budget proposals that completely eliminate PSLF, and in recent years those have all been unsuccessful, and that's largely because we had different parties in control of our legislative and executive branches. But now we're going to have Republican-led everything, so we'll have Republican-led executive and legislative branches. So if that's something that's on their agenda, there's no longer that bipartisan different way of thinking to hold it up. I get a little bit more nervous about that becoming a reality. I guess that if it's on their agenda, that they could potentially push it forward. So you might be thinking like, oh my gosh, what should I do? Should I freak out? Ultimately, no. If you're eligible for PSLF in 2017, you can be pretty confident that your forgiveness is going to go off kind of exactly as planned and as the terms describe now. If you're farther out than that, though, I think you have a little bit of a reason for concern. There is a little bit of language about PSLF that's been included in promissory notes, which are really like the terms of your student loans since 2007. So potentially if the government completely eliminated the program for borrowers from 2007 and forward, it potentially could be considered a contractual violation. I'm not really sure how that would work. Legal is not my forte, but potentially they could it seems like there's some language maybe to protect borrowers from complete elimination. However, if you have not borrowed yet and you don't have anything with that language and you're just thinking about going into a job in public service and counting on this to pay for it, I definitely wouldn't plan on it still being there exactly as it exists today. And really, like I talked about in last week's video, it has a lot to do with how comfortable you are with the potential for change in this payment plan. And, you know, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, if you have the financial means to pay your loan back within 10 years, even if it, involves paying a little bit extra, I think it's your social responsibility to do so. It's pretty tough to expect people to really help us out and, help our generation pay for college when we have people who are gaming the system so that they don't have to pay interest or this and that. And, they can do their income-based student loan repayments and then do every single fun thing that they ever wanted to. It'd be nice if college was free, but as it exists right now, we have to pay for it. And I know that it's expensive. I mean, I'm paying back my own $132,000 in debt. And I opted out of PSLF. I probably could have saved myself 20 to 30 grand, but to me, socially, it's not responsible because I can afford to pay, and there are people who we need in public service jobs that don't pay well, that have to take a lot of debt to get there. And so I think that that's really who this public service loan forgiveness is intended for. And if we have all the high income borrowers using it, it's likely that it'll change, be modified, and kind of screw over the future people who need it. So, again, if you're using it, I'm not critical of you. I get it. Financially, it makes sense. If you pay $20,000 or $30,000 less, that makes sense. I'm just saying that that comes at a cost to someone. So don't forget that. And really, I hope you found today's video helpful. I know it was a little bit long, but you can check out my blog at repealed.org for even more student loan debt help. This upcoming Monday, I'm going to have a post that's all about how not to feel like a Grinch when you're trying to get Christmas presents for people and pay back your student loans. So if you liked my video, please subscribe. Enjoy.